Śrīmad Bhāgavatam of Krishna Dvaipayana Vyas, translations and purports by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, founder Acharya of the International Society for Krishna Consciousness, 8th Canto, Withdrawal of the Cosmic Creations, Chapter 3, Gajendra's Prayers of Surrender. And in this video, I'm going to be reading the translations and purports for texts 11 through 14. And in the table of contents, this section is called Bhakti Yoga, Pure Spiritual Activity. Text 11, translation. The Supreme Personality of Godhead is realized by pure devotees who act in the transcendental existence of Bhakti Yoga. He is the bestower of uncontaminated happiness and is the master of the transcendental world. Therefore I offer my respectful obeisances unto him. Purport. As stated in Bhagavad Gita, the Supreme Personality of Godhead can be understood only by devotional service. Bhaktya mam abhijanati yavan yaschasmi tatvataha. If one wants to know the Supreme Personality of Godhead in truth, one must take to the activities of devotional service. These activities are called sattva or shuddha sattva. In the material world, activities of goodness which are symptomatic of a pure Brahman are appreciated. But the activities of devotional service are shuddha sattva. In other words, they are on the transcendental platform. Only by devotional service can one understand the Supreme. Devotional service is called naishkarmya. Mere negation of material activity will not endure. Naishkarmyam apyachutya bhava varjitam. Unless one performs activities with reference to Krishna consciousness, cessation of material activities will not be helpful. In hopes of achieving naishkarmya, freedom from material action, many highly elevated sannyasis stopped their activities. Yet they failed and returned to the material platform to act as materialistic persons. But once one is engaged in the spiritual activities of Bhakti Yoga, one does not fall down. Our Krishna consciousness movement is therefore an attempt to engage everyone always in spiritual activity by which one becomes transcendental to material actions. The spiritual activities of Bhakti Marga Shravanam, Kirtanam, Vishnu Smaranam, Padasevanam lead one to understand the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Therefore, as stated here, Sattvena Pratilabhyaya Naishkarmyena Vipaschita. Quote, the Supreme Personality of Godhead is realized by pure devotees who act in the transcendental existence of Bhakti Yoga, unquote. The Gopalatapani Upanishad 15 says, Bhaktir asya bhajanang tad iha mutro padhi nairasyena iva mushmin manasaha kalpanam etad evacha naishkarmyam. This is the definition of naishkarmya. One acts in naishkarmya when he fully engages in Krishna conscious activities without material desires to enjoy, either here or in the upper planetary systems, in the present life or in the future life. Iha amutra. Anya bila shita shunyam. When one is freed from all contamination, and he acts in devotional service under the direction of the spiritual master, one is on the platform of Naishkarma. By such transcendental devotional service, the Lord is served. I offer my respectful obeisances unto him. Text 12. Translation. I offer my respectful obeisances to Lord Vasudeva, who is all-pervading, to the Lord's fierce form as Lord Nrsimhadev, to the Lord's form as an animal, Lord Varahadev, to Lord Dattatreya, who preached impersonalism, to Lord Buddha, and to all the other incarnations. I offer my respectful obeisances unto the Lord, who has no material qualities, but who accepts the three qualities, goodness, passion, and ignorance, within this material world. I also offer my respectful obeisances unto the impersonal Brahman effulgence. Purport. In the previous verses, it has been described that although the Supreme Personality of Godhead has no material form, he accepts innumerable forms to favor his devotees and kill the demons. As stated in Śrīmad Bhāgavatam, there are so many incarnations of the Supreme Personality of Godhead that they are like the waves of a river. The waves of a river flow incessantly, and no one can count how many waves there are. Similarly, no one can calculate when and how the different incarnations of the Lord appear, according to the necessities of time, place, and candidates. The Lord appears perpetually. As Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita 4:7, Yada yada hi dharmasya glanir bhavati bharata abhyutanam adharmasya tadat manam srijamyaham. Quote, whenever and wherever there is a decline in religious practice, O descendant of Bharata, and a predominant rise of irreligion, at that time I descend myself. Unquote. In the material world, there is always the possibility of deviation from Krishna consciousness, and therefore Krishna and his devotees always act in various forms to curb such godlessness. Even impersonalists who stress the knowledge feature of the Supreme Personality of Godhead want to merge in the effulgence of the Lord. Therefore, here the word jnana ganaya indicates that for atheists who disbelieve in the form and existence of the Lord, all these various incarnations appear. Since the Lord comes to teach in so many forms, no one can say that there is no God. The word jnana ganaya is especially used here to refer to those whose knowledge has become solidified by dint of their searching for the Lord through speculative philosophical understanding. Superficial knowledge is useless for understanding the Supreme Personality of Godhead. But when one's knowledge becomes extremely intense and deep, one understands Vasudeva. Vasudevaha sarvamiti sa mahatma sudurlabhaha. A jnani attains this stage after many, many births. Therefore the word jnana ganaya is used here. The word shantaya indicates that Lord Vasudeva is situated in everyone's heart but does not act with the living entity. Impersonalist jnanis realize Vasudeva when they are fully mature in knowledge. Vasudevaha sarvam iti sa mahatma sudurlabhaha. Text 13, translation. I beg to offer my respectful obeisances unto you, who are the super soul, the superintendent of everything, and the witness of all that occurs. You are the Supreme Person, the origin of material nature and of the total material energy. You are also the owner of the material body. Therefore, you are the Supreme Complete. I offer my respectful obeisances unto you. Purport. In Bhagavad Gita 13.3, the Lord says, Kshetra gyang chapi mang vidhi sarva kshetreshu bharata. Quote, O scion of Bharata, you should understand that I am also the knower of all bodies. Unquote. Every one of us is thinking, quote, I am this body, or this is my body, unquote. But actually the truth is different. Our bodies are given to us by the Supreme Proprietor, the living entity who is also Kshetragya, or the knower of the body, is not the body's only proprietor. The actual proprietor of the body is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is the Supreme Kshetragya. For example, we may rent and occupy a house, but actually the owner of the house is the landlord. Similarly, we may be allotted a certain type of body as a facility with which to enjoy this material world, but the actual proprietor of the body is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. He is called sarva dhyaksha, because everything in the material world works under his supervision. This is confirmed in Bhagavad Gita 9:10, wherein the Lord says, Maya yakshena prakriti suyate sacharacharam. Quote, this material nature, working under my direction, O son of Kunti, is producing all moving and unmoving beings. Unquote. From prakriti, or material nature, come so many varieties of living entities, including aquatics, plants, trees, insects, birds, animals, human beings, and demigods. Prakriti is the mother, and the Supreme Personality of Godhead is the father. Ahang bija pradaha pita. Prakriti can give us material bodies, but as spirit souls, we are parts and parcels of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. This is confirmed in the Bhagavad Gita 15:7. Mamai vangsho jiva loke, jiva bhutaha sanatanaha. The living entity, being part and parcel of God, is not a product of this material world. Therefore the Lord is described in this verse as Atma Mula, the original source of everything. He is the seed of all existences, Bijang Mang Sarvabhutanam. In Bhagavad Gita 14:4, the Lord says, Sarva Jonishu Konteya Murtayaha Sambhavanti Yaha Ta Sang Brahma Mahajonir Ahang Bija Pradaha Pita. Quote, it should be understood that all living entities in all species of life, O son of Kunti, are made possible by birth in this material nature, and that I am the seed-giving father. Unquote. Plants, trees, insects, aquatics, demigods, beasts, birds, and all other living entities are sons or parts and parcels of the Supreme Lord. But because they are struggling with different mentalities, they have been given different types of bodies. Manaha shashta nindriyani prakriti-stani karshati. Thus, they have become sons of Prakriti, or material nature, which is impregnated by the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Every living entity in this material world is struggling for existence, and the only salvation or relief from the cycle of birth and death is the only salvation or relief from the cycle of birth and death in the evolutionary process is full surrender. This is indicated by the word namaha. Quote, I offer my respectful obeisances unto you. Unquote. Text 14, translation. My Lord, you are the observer of all the objectives of the senses. Without your mercy, there is no possibility of solving the problem of doubts. The material world is just like a shadow resembling you. Indeed, one accepts this material world as real because it gives a glimpse of your existence. Purport. To paraphrase this verse, quote, the objectives of sensual activities are actually observed by you. Without your direction, the living entity cannot take even a step forward. As confirmed in Bhagavad Gita 15:15, Sarvasya chahang hridi sannivishto mataha smritir jnanam apohanam cha. You are situated in everyone's heart, and only from you come remembrance and forgetfulness. Cha yeva yasya bhuvanani bibharti durga. The living entity under the clutches of Maya wants to enjoy this material world, but unless you give him directions and remind him, he cannot make progress in pursuing his shadowy objective in life. The conditioned soul wrongly progresses toward the wrong objective, life after life, and he is reminded of that objective by you. In one life, the conditioned soul desires to progress toward a certain objective, but after his body changes, he forgets everything. Nonetheless, my Lord, because he wanted to enjoy something in this world, you remind him of this in his next birth. Mataha smritir jnanam apohanam cha. Because the conditioned soul wants to forget you. By your grace, you give him opportunities life after life by which he can almost perpetually forget you. Therefore, you are eternally the director of the conditioned souls. It is because you are the original cause of everything that everything appears real. The ultimate reality is your lordship, the supreme personality of Godhead. I offer my respectful obeisances unto you." Unquote. The word sarva pratyaya hitave is explained by Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, who says that a result gives one a glimpse of its cause. For example, since an earthen pot is the result of the actions of a potter, by seeing the earthen pot, one can guess at the existence of the potter. Similarly, this material world resembles the spiritual world, and any intelligent person can guess how it is acting. As explained in Bhagavad Gita, Maya yakshena prakritihi suyate sa characharam. The activities of the material world suggest that behind them is the superintendence of the Lord.